Obviously, I didn't join the convent to become a Catholic influencer, but the community that I used to be a part of, their mission is related to media. And so a lot of my work for many years was online. And in the process of that work, I started sharing about a practice called Memento Mori, which is the practice of meditating on your death. And as I shared about that practice, I gained tens of thousands of followers and eventually became what people would call a Catholic influencer. In that process, I think I've learned a lot about what I believe a Catholic influencer really is. I think we sometimes talk about Catholic influencers as if they are basically the same as other online celebrities. They have the same number of followers, they have the same likes, and they share the same amount of content, but their content is just different. The thing is, if we really pay attention to how content is shared, we realize that how we share content is just as important as the content that we share. Marshall McLuhan, who is a media theorist, he says the medium is the message. So in other words, how we share is just as important as what we share. And so I think if we think about that in terms of what Catholic influencing really means, I think in reality, getting a bunch of likes and a bunch of shares and a bunch of followers does not necessarily mean that we are influencing people to Christ. And if Catholic influencer means anything, it needs to mean that we're influencing people to Christ. As Sisters of the Little Way, our mission is centered on people who've experienced abuse in the church. Online, people talk about that very often. When we share the faith, that's one of their first objections, and rightly so. That is a huge objection that people have to the Catholic faith, that so much abuse happened in the Catholic Church. And that's why we believe that our mission is really important. And the way that we share online is really important. Not to do it in a coercive way or an abusive way, but to do it in an inviting way. One that engages a person's conscience, engages them as a person, respects them as a person. Those are the ways that we believe that it's important for Catholic influencers to engage with people online.